Hi everyone and welcome to another new season of college hockey on NCHC Between the Boards. I'm Greg Ankers. As we drop the puck on season number 2 here, we're bringing about some changes along with the NCHC. We're going to be bringing you this program on a weekly basis starting this year, so be sure to tune in every Friday at 6:30 to get all the latest highlights and news from across the National Collegiate Hockey Conference. As we get ready to start a new season, we'll take a look at exhibition highlights from the week that was last week. And as teams get ready to drop the puck on a new season, we will sit down with Ben Holden of CBS Sports. That'll come a little bit later on. But as we get ready for a new season, we welcome back Commissioner Josh Fenton. Josh, good to be back and talking some hockey with you. And before we get to the nuts and bolts of this season, I guess let's reflect a little bit. 6 of 8 teams, 75% of the teams in your league made the NCAA tournament. 2 made it to the Frozen Four. What's been the impact, I guess, of the success the league had last year?
It really goes back to what happened in the regular season, especially in the non-conference games. Our teams won at a .671 winning percentage in non-conference games. That directly relates to what you saw at the end of the year and the number of teams getting in the tournament. So, only time will tell. Certainly things could be very different this year, and I would expect things certainly to be different. But we're very happy with what happened last year, and it was a lot of fun.
As the league enters year 3 now this year, there's going to be some changes that fans are going to see on the ice. Most notably, I think, is the 3-on-3 overtime format that could come into play and impact some games this season. It's gotten positive reviews from everybody that I've talked to this point. But take us through, I guess, the steps that were taken to implement that and why it came about and why it's important to be doing that this year.
It came to be during our annual meeting last year. Our coaches, frankly, unanimously brought it to our conference office, and we had a discussion about how we were doing through overtime with the shootout that was in place for the first 2 years and how we wanted to evolve. A couple of the guys in the room had had some experience, whether in the American Hockey League or seen it through recruiting in the USHL, of what happens during a 3-on-3, and frankly what fans are going to see is up and down action and then probably a goal at one end of the ice surface. So it really came from our coaches, and then certainly our administrators got on board, and then we've had to kind of put together a policy and a process as to how the overtime is going to be administered. The 5-minute 5-on-5 traditional overtime really can't go away because that's what's happening across the country, and those games, quote unquote, still count through that 5-minute 5-on-5 overtime session. So that relates to national statistics, and then obviously we will move to 3-on-3 if it's still tied after the 5-on-5, and again, it's really for that extra point in conference standing. But if you look at the National Hockey League, the American Hockey League, the junior leagues in the United States, they're moving to these types of models that they feel create a lot of excitement for fans, and I think you're seeing a lot of early positive momentum from the National Hockey League of games in the preseason that have already tried it. So we're excited to bring it to NCHC fans, and I think they'll enjoy it.
A couple changes that maybe fans won't necessarily see or notice, I guess I should say. One being the net is going to go to the NHL size net, changing the depth a little bit there, allowing players some more room on the backside for some wraparound opportunities perhaps. Rosters are expanding on the road by 1 player this year, and one thing that the fans are going to get a chance to see is a little different look for teams on their home ice in the second half of the conference season.
Yeah, some small tweaks. Nothing significant or major. And the net piece, obviously other leagues across the world have moved in this direction. The Big Ten as a conference had moved to this a couple of years ago, and so they have shallower, the NHL size nets. And so, whether it relates to more scoring, at the end of the day, the NHL feels like it's helping the game some. So we're okay in moving that direction, and our schools wanted to do that. The travel roster piece was purely our institutions coming to us saying, hey, when we go on the road in conference time and in conference matchups, it can be a little tough, and injuries can come out of Friday. It'd be nice to have an extra player to potentially insert in the lineup, and so our administrators, faculty, athletic representatives, athletic directors were comfortable with that, so that moved an additional travel member from 22 to 23. And then, as you mentioned, the jerseys, yes, it'll be fun, and I think great for the fans, and allow the fans to either wear their white or their dark jersey at whatever game that they attend, and it should be a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for your time, Josh.
Thanks, Greg.
Good luck on year 3 as the college hockey season gets underway here in the NCHC.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we're back to take a look at exhibition highlights, that and so much more straight ahead on NCHC Between the Boards. Welcome back. 7 of 8 NCHC teams took part in exhibition matches this past weekend as they get ready to drop the puck on the regular season later tonight, including North Dakota. Coming off of a Frozen Four appearance last year, much has changed in Grand Forks. Gone is longtime coach Dave Hackstall. Promoted from assistant is Brad Berry as he takes over the program and welcomes in 11 freshmen as they begin their 2015-16 campaign. And Brad Berry making his first appearance behind the bench as head coach for North Dakota. He'd see his team down 2-1 in the second, but a beautiful 2-on-1 here. Nick Schmaltz to Shane Gersich for the goal. Makes it a 2-2 game. 28 seconds after that, Gersich comes calling again, skates to the front of the net. Good things happen when you're there. Troy Stetcher finds him for the easy backhander. North Dakota goes up 3-2. They would not look back after that. Still in the second, Johnny Simonson with a highlight reel goal here for sure. Gets that one to go as putting UND out in front 4-2, and take another look. Simonson between the legs and over the goalie. And he was not done either. In the third, Simonson with 2 goals already on the night. He gets the hat trick. Working hard out in front here. North Dakota goes on to win 8-3, peppering Manitoba with 56 shots on goal. Here's Brad Berry following his first game as head coach.
I didn't know what to expect early. I knew the execution would be a little bit rusty early, and it was to some degree. I know we had some opportunities to score and didn't. The biggest thing I liked was our compete factor. I liked when we were down 1-0 and 2-1 that it didn't shake our bench and put panic into our group with a bunch of young guys there. They knew what they had to do.
St. Cloud State entertaining Alberta. Husky fans not even settled into their seats. Just 44 seconds in, Patrick Russell with the goal in the slot, putting the Huskies out in front 1-0 early. Later in the first, St. Cloud State 2-on-1 opportunity, and Joey Bennick going to finish this one off in style, puts the Huskies out in front 2-0. Then still in the first, Patrick Newell going to get the rebound and the backhand goal out in front here to make it a 3-1 game. And the Huskies not done with business in the first. Ben Storm carrying it into the zone. The defenseman takes it all the way, deflecting it off of the defenseman and in. That made it 4-1 St. Cloud State. They steamroll this one as they go on to get the 6-2 exhibition win. Lethbridge giving Western Michigan all they can handle in Kalamazoo. Second period, Broncos down 2-0, but working a power play. JT Osborne sliding one towards the net. That one gets past the goalie to cut the deficit to 2-1. It'd be 4-1 though, Lethbridge in the third. Osborne, again, his second goal of the night here, cuts the deficit down to 4-2. Then later in the third, Broncos back on a power play. Aiden Muir going to be all alone in the middle here. He beats the goalie to make it 4-3, but that's as close as they would get. Lucas Hafner gives up 3 goals in the losing effort. Here's Andy Murray's assessment after the game.
We just didn't play as well as we needed. We played everybody in the hockey game tonight. We played 5 lines. We played 8 defensemen. We sat some guys out. We tried to get a read on our players is what we're trying to do. We've got so many new guys and integrating them into positions that, our goal was to win the hockey game. We wanted to win the hockey game, and there's simply some things that we have to do better.
Still to come on the program, we'll sit down and chat with CBS Sports play-by-play man Ben Holden. But next, we go back into the highlights and a team of Bulldogs who has some high expectations for this coming season. That and more is next on NCHC Between the Boards. One team in the league this season that's not going to look a whole lot different from last season is the Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. They entered the season ranked number 1 in the NCHC preseason poll. Scott Sandelin's bunch started exhibition play at home against Lakehead last weekend. Duluth off to a little bit of a slow start in this one, taking on Lakehead down 1-0 in the second, but working a power play, and Willie Raskob leaves it for Tony Cameronese on the one-timer. That ties things up at 1, and Duluth gets the ball rolling after that. Less than a minute later, back on the power play, Nick McCormick firing home the wrister here for a 2-1 UMD lead. Then later in the second, a freshman going to work. Billy Exel settling the puck down here. He will turn and score. A lot of returners on this Duluth squad, but if the freshmen get going, they're an even scarier bunch. Still in the second, bad clear by the defense here. Alex Iafallo steps up and scores to make it 5-1, and Duluth goes on to win by the final of 6-1. Miami taking on Western Ontario. in the second. Tied at 1, Sean Corrali going to come up with the initial shot. Josh Melnick there for the rebound goal as the Redhawks take a 2-1 lead. Later in the second, Miami on the power play. Louis Belpedio, he knows how to finish a one-timer. He does so here. Makes it 3-1 Redhawks. And more scoring from Miami in the second. Matthew Cato with a shot gets tipped out in front by Michael Mooney. Nice finish here to make it 4-1. Then in the third, Miami working on a 4-on-3. The time does expire, so it's 4-on-4. It's Belpedio with the finish to make it 5-1. Miami goes on to win 6-1. Freshman Jack Roslovic with a pair of assists in his first game for Miami. Here's Enrico Blase following the win.
I thought our D zone needs a little bit of work. Our transition through the neutral zone can be better. I thought our offensive zone play actually was fairly decent tonight. But it's so early. We're going to work on everything in this upcoming week.
Colorado College taking on Calgary in their one-time exhibition opener. In the first, Trevor Gooch with the initial shot follows it up, gets rewarded on the second chance. It's 1-0 Colorado College just like that. Later in the first, a very nice 2-on-1 here. We're going to slow it down for you so you can appreciate every moment of this. Luke Gertis to Sam Rothstein. You can't do it any better than that on the backhander finish. It's 2-0 CC. Then in the second, Colorado College working a power play. David Radke with the initial shot. Weston Mashad gets the rebound goal. 5-0 CC. They go on to win 6-2. The Tigers 4 for 11 on the power play in this one as they get the W. Calgary then goes up I-25 from Saturday to Sunday night, taking on Denver in the first. DU on the power play. Danton Heinen, nice vision, finding Nolan Zajac for the easy goal to make it 1-0 Denver. In the second, Calgary's D, maybe a little tuckered from the night before, gets caught flat-footed here. Puck bounces to Troy Terry, who finishes for the goal to make it 2-0 Pios. Later in the second, here's a 3-on-1 work to perfection. It's going to be Trevor Moore to Terry for the finish, his second goal of the night to make it 3-0 Denver. Then still in the second, off the face-off, you cannot leave Danton Heinen wide open with space right out in front of your goaltender. He'll make you pay for it every time. Denver goes on to win 4-0. Tanner Gillette and Evan Cowley, 22 saves in the shutout. Here's Jim Montgomery.
Second period, we really built a lot of momentum. We started finishing a lot more checks, which caused turnovers. And then we started to, I think, overwhelm them with our speed and our puck possession down low.
Straight ahead on the program, we sit down and chat with CBS Sports play-by-play man Ben Holden. And later, we'll preview a big opening weekend series. Welcome back as another college hockey season is about to begin. We get ready with, and welcome back Ben Holden from CBS Sports. Ben, good to be back with you and good to be talking hockey here again as the season gets ready to go here.
Greg, it's fun and I really appreciate you guys having me on. You guys do a terrific job and everything you do, certainly covering North Dakota's team. I watch a lot of the stuff when I can, and it's always fun to be with you guys and talk about the upcoming year. Well,
let's before we dive right into this season, let's put a bow on last season with 6 of 8 teams from the NCHC making the NCAA tournament, something that's never been done before. Is it even possible to have that happen again?
I really think it is because the conference is so deep, and I think some of the teams that might have struggled last year, I mean, I'll use Colorado College as an example. The last 2 years, they've given North Dakota a tough time in the playoffs. I mean, specifically 2 years ago. And I think with Mike Haviland, he's a pro guy. He's a really good coach. I know he's going to work hard to get his own guys in there. I mean, even that team, they could be a team that could shock some people. So, I think they got something that they're building. And, every team in this league is tough. I mean, there are no gimmies. Every game I have, I look at it and say, that's probably going to be a 1-goal game. And 9 out of 10 times it is. As
you look at the preseason poll coming out in the conference, you see teams that have a lot coming back in Denver and Duluth at the top. UND's bringing in a lot of freshmen. They're sitting there 3, and it doesn't get any easier as you look down the list with Miami. They're chomping at the bit to get back to things. Do you feel like the way the preseason poll rolled out that it's going to be accurate to depict the standings at the end of the year?
No. I never do. It's preseason, and if people can nail it, great. But I just think there'll be some surprises along the way. I mean, let's use Miami last year. A year ago at this time, we were talking about them finishing dead last in the conference, which, I mean, who would have thought that with the talent they had? And then they come back, and win the tournament last year. So I think there's always a surprise, whether it's hockey, football, basketball, whatever. I think there's always a surprise. But I really think the top three, I think those are accurate picks. I think Denver's very good. Like Mike Haviland, I think Jim Montgomery's got his stamp on his program a little bit more because he's been there another year. He's got some young, dynamic talent in there, and then you look at Duluth, and I think Scott's got a really good club. And, it's going to be interesting with North Dakota with Brad Berry, but I think it's going to be an easy transition because he's been there, he's familiar, he's a North Dakota guy. I don't think that's going to be hard. It's going to be interesting to see, as you mentioned, the young guys coming in, but I know that talent will be high end, so I don't think it'll take them long.
You mentioned Jim Montgomery, with Danton Heinen coming back, Trevor Moore.
Yep.
They're going to be stacked, and those are a pair of guys that are both on the preseason all-conference team. Who's a guy that maybe we're not hearing a lot about right now that you're going to have to keep your eye on and is going to surprise some people just from an individual perspective this season?
I think there's a couple of guys. I mean, I'm a big fan of Sean Corrali from Miami. I think Sean's a really good hockey player. He's got a great body. He plays the game hard. He plays it on edge. He could easily play it, anywhere he wanted to play, but he wanted to play at Miami, and I think he's a great leader for their team. I look to him. I'd like to see Nick Schmaltz take it to an even higher level because I think he is clearly, to me, him and Heinen and Moore, those three guys, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but those three guys are the guys that come to mind in terms of high-end, dynamic, offensive skill guys. And, I mean, I think Schmaltz has got all the tools to be one of those guys. So those would be some of the guys I'd look at.
Some of the buzz in the offseason revolved around some of the rule changes, and the NCHC is implementing a possible 3-on-3
I love it.
overtime, and that's what I want to get your reaction on. Some people say, maybe that's a little too gimmicky. Maybe that's going away from the way the game is supposed to be played a little bit, but there's a lot of people that are on board with this, isn't there?
To me, it's awesome. I mean, it's awesome in the regular season. Mm-hmm. I think it's fun, and I watched, this tells you how much life I have. The other night about 12:30, I'm flipping around, and I'm watching Vancouver and San Jose, and I'm like, oh, cool, the first 3-on-3. And the game ended in about a minute and a half. Yep. There was a goal scored by Vancouver by Adam Cracknell, and so I think it's going to be good for the game. I think it's going to be great for the fans. I like the change. The only thing I wish is they would have just went to that right away and just done it that way. But it's okay. It's still in the game.
It's going to create a lot of odd man rushes.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. That'll be exciting, and it'll be exciting to watch you, Dave Starman, and the rest of the CBS crew when your games get going here after the new year. Ben, thanks for the time, and good luck with your broadcasts this season.
Thanks, Greg. Always appreciate it. You guys too.
All right. We'll be back with more right after this. It was one of the most entertaining NCAA tournament games played last season. Miami and Providence went toe-to-toe back and forth as Providence went on to win 7-5, ending the Red Hawks season. But Enrico Blase and Sean Corrali and the rest of the Miami gang get a second chance to take down Providence as they open the season tonight against the defending champs. Here they are as they reflect on last season's bitter end and this season's promising start.
That was a tough game for us. We thought we had a little bit of slump there in the second period, but we were proud of how we came back. It was pretty cool, and I think that's something we kind of carried into the off season was just the never give up, gritty attitude that we don't care if we're down 6 goals, 5 goals, or 4 goals, and it's just there's no reason to give up. It's a process, and that's the situation you're in, and just win the moment.
I felt like our team embodied everything that we're all about as a program in terms of not giving up and just continually playing. And with a little bit of luck, maybe that game could have gone a little bit different. But certainly I don't, as a head coach, I don't look at the outcomes as the end-all be-all. The process in which we go about doing our business is probably the most important thing for me.
They're going to be a highly ranked team, and it'll be a great challenge for us right away. There's no time to waste. It'll be right out of the gates. We're going to have to be ready to go. And that's what we've been thinking all summer, and they're going to be ready to go. I know they won a championship, but they're really well coached, a lot of great returners, and it's going to be a great weekend.
The honest truth is that's not the national championship team. The national championship team from Providence has a lot of key players that are not there. And so, in our program, we kind of, I know everybody thinks about it, and it's in the back of everybody's mind, and in terms of the fans and maybe even some of the players, and it's not the way we go about our business. It's great for the media. I think you should play it up. It's always good. But we got to focus on what we need to do and what this team, for us, current team, is all about, and what our identity is going to be.
7th ranked Providence and 11th ranked Miami, just one of several games we will review next week on NCHC Between the Boards. Here's a look at the rest of them. Omaha, who did not play in the exhibition round last weekend, they open with a tough test at number 6 Minnesota State. Minnesota Duluth plays a home-and-home against Bemidji State. North Dakota opens the year at the Icebreaker Invitational in Portland, Maine, where they'll face Lake Superior State and Maine. Denver plays a home-and-home against Air Force. St. Cloud State is in Alaska at the Kendall Hockey Classic. Western Michigan goes with a home-and-home against Ferris State, and UMass visits Colorado College. We will review all those games and have much more right here next week on NCHC Between the Boards. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we're coming at you every single Friday at 6:30 right here on Midco Sports Network. That's all for now. Enjoy the games. We'll see you next week.